Once again, you have to address the question, if you're a member of the National Rifle Association, do you really think that organization is acting in your best interest if you own and or carry a firearm? Are they really working for you, or are they just out for your dough? That's the question. And the number here is 663-1270. Jim Walsh at Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Filling in once again. Good to be along. And let's talk about the latest development in this story that talked about it before. And again, it's just amazing the way this organization seems to work. They claim to be in favor of defending your right to keep and bear arms, and that's fine. No problem with that. But take a look at what happened in the wake of the Philando Castile case. You know, the fellow in Minnesota who was pulled over by a policeman. He was carrying a gun. He did everything he was supposed to do. He informed the officer he was carrying the firearm, but things got out of control very quickly. Everybody went from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Not literally. I mean, sitting there in the car, this guy and the cop. Something happened, and the policeman wound up shooting him. And from the evidence that's available, it doesn't look good for the policeman, although legally, he was acquitted. Last Friday, the jury in Minnesota acquitted this this policeman who killed Mr. Castile, acquitted of second-degree manslaughter. It is very hard to hold police accountable when they use unnecessary force. And that's not really the main point of this discussion. The main point is this. You would think that Philando Castile would make a great, you should pardon the expression, martyr for the National Rifle Association. You would think that they would step in and say something like this. You know, the fact that this fellow was shot and killed, and the fact that the officer was acquitted, the verdict sends a very chilling message to gun owners, since Philando Castile is dead because he basically exercised his constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Now, it is true that we don't have the full story, but the video from the other police car is available. You can look at it for yourself. And it really gives you pause there as to what happened. He let the officer know he had a gun. Had Castile been less forthcoming, he would still be alive. Now, that's the interesting thing. That's the thing that gets me about it. If he was going to shoot the cop, he would never have told him, look, I have a gun. He would have just shot him. So it makes no sense to conclude that this guy was a threat. Yes, police are under a lot of pressure. Yes, it was a split-second decision. But also, yes, policemen, like anybody else, have to be held accountable for their actions. Now, a day after the shooting, the NRA said this: the reports from Minnesota are troubling and must be thoroughly investigated. Well, the report has been investigated, and things have turned out the way they've turned out. Yet the fact is, the NRA has not added anything to the non-statement statement it made a year ago. One would think that the nation's largest and oldest civil rights organization, as it describes itself, would have more to say about an innocent man who was killed for exercising his Second Amendment rights. But no. For what reason? One can only speculate. But the fact is, the National Rifle Association has really dropped the ball on this one, in my opinion, because this man died basically because he was exercising his right to bear arms. And you'd think the NRA would stand up and make a strong statement about this, but they're not. Gee, why do you think that is? Well, as a man always says, follow the money. As Deep Throat said, in All the President's Men, follow the money. Okay, or following the money. What's the NRA about? They're about making money. They're about getting more money out of your pockets to fill their coffers. So again, the question for you is, if you're a member of this organization, do you really believe that they're acting in your best interest? 663-1270. We'll get to that, more of that in just a couple of minutes here. A couple other things. How's that new arrangement on the interstate working for you? With the orange cones. Gotta love them orange cones. Is it, have you adjusted yet to the getting on the interstate from the on-ramp in an area where there's a lot of these cones bunched around and you're kind of narrowed, you're kind of bottlenecked in there? Seems to me a lot of people are not handling this very well, especially where it pertains to getting off the ramp and onto the interstate. For one thing, it doesn't look, to me at least, like they're really giving you enough leeway, enough wiggle room in getting onto the main drag of the interstate. The way the way the orange cones are arranged, they just kind of dump you right out there, right straight off the ramp. And it should be a more gradual process so you can kind of ease yourself in. See, the ideal situation, and this is where a lot of people, I think, are messing up. The ideal situation, you've probably been behind somebody like this on the interstate when you're trying to get on, last couple of weeks especially. You're getting on the ramp to get onto the interstate, and you're stuck behind some guy who pulls right up to the place where the ramp leads onto the main part of the interstate highway. And the guy behind you slows down to a crawl or even stops, dead stop, right there, and sits there while some traffic goes by until this guy decides he can comfortably kind of mosey on into the main lane there. That's not how it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work is you're getting in the off lane. You look over to your left and you look at the flow of traffic. Now, if the flow is really heavy and you don't see a way you can safely maneuver in smoothly, then you slow down or then you stop. But if there is room to maneuver into the traffic, if you can do it safely, then what you do is you slow down a little bit if you have to, or if you have to, you may speed up a little bit. The idea is to get with the flow of the traffic and then just kind of ease right on in there. But a lot of folks are not doing this, and you've probably been stuck behind one of these goobers at least once. This is not how you drive on the interstate in a situation like that. You've got the biggest thing, the biggest problem, the biggest cause of accidents on the highways and byways anywhere, not just here, but are people who don't go with the regular flow of the traffic. Any reputable traffic engineer will tell you that if you're part of a ramp, you got people, if you're coming off the ramp, you probably got people behind you. And they're going to try to do the same thing you are. But if you slow down, if you see one car half a mile away and you slow down and stop and wait for that guy to go by and then go out, well, I know North Dakota nice and all that, but it doesn't work in driving. It's actually dangerous. You're actually making things more dangerous for the drivers around you, not less. Got to get with the flow of the traffic. You got to kind of ease on in. It can be a little hairy at times, but that's the way you got to do it. No more of this business of, I'm going to stop here and wait until there's nobody coming for about 12 light years. If there's a guy out by Alpha Centauri, I'll wait for him to go by. Please don't do that. And if you're one of these guys on the ramp, if you're doing that, please stop doing that. Trust me, the guy behind you will thank you for it, especially if it's me. But no matter who it is, it's really the best way to do things. So how are things working for you on the interstate with this new arrangement now that they're doing all the work right on through the city of Bismarck and over the bridge there, over the Missouri River? Are you having any, does it feel as uncomfortable for you as it does for me? I guess that's a question. Are you having problems with it? Are you having problems with the way the cones are arranged? And the NRA question, with the way the NRA is handling things like the shooting of this fellow in Minnesota. They really haven't handled it at all. They haven't said a thing about it other than a very brief, pointless statement they made right at the beginning of the trial. Do you really think the NRA is acting in your best interest?
Right now, 70.
Weekends with Twilight Zone Radio on Super Talk 1270.
Philando Castile, a man who died because he was carrying a firearm legally. Last Friday, a jury acquitted the cop who killed him. He was charged with second-degree manslaughter, acquitted. You would think the National Rifle Association would be all over this, making a big stink about it in the national press. They're not. And once again, if you're a member of this or any of the other so-called guns rights organizations, you have to address the question, where are they? Why are they not stepping in? Are these groups like the NRA really acting in your best interest if you own or carry a gun? Number 663-1270. Also, inviting you to weigh in on your experiences on the interstate. Traffic cone season is well underway. You know the old joke, we have two basic seasons in North Dakota. We have winter, which is 9 months long, and traffic cone season, which is the rest of the time. All right, now we are knee-deep in traffic cones on the interstate. How's that working out for you? The way they're laid out, can you really maneuver well? Are you really satisfied with the way they've set it up? Because there's some folks out there who aren't. And there are a lot of folks who are having trouble negotiating that, especially where you go from the ramp to the main drag of the interstate. A lot of folks are having trouble with that. And it could be in part because of the way the cones are arranged. You know, they got you just dumping right out there on the interstate from the ramp. Maybe it should be a little more gradual, allowing for the room for the road work. Okay. Number 663-1270, 663-1270. Jim Walsh at Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. All right, here's the audio from the stop, the Philando Castile stop in Minnesota. This is this may be kind of hard to listen to. I will warn you up front. If you have small children or if you're kind of sensitive to this kind of thing, you have been warned, all right? It's not the whole thing, it's a portion of it. Moved up to right about the time where Mr. Castile actually told the officer, I have a firearm. Okay, now listen carefully. I'll plunk it here and then here we go.
Sir, I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it, then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
Bam, that quickly. You heard the gunshots. So those were the gunshots. The cop pulled his gun out and he started firing. That quickly it happened. Let me back that up. Wow. I'm going to go in start it up a little bit earlier here. Here we go. Okay, the policeman approaches
the... Good. How are you? Good. The reason I pulled you over, your brake lights are out. So you only have one active brake light, and that's going to be your passenger side one. Your third brake light, which is up here on top, and on this one back here, is going to be out. You have your license and insurance?
And the officer's looking at the guy's
I
ID.
have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
Gunshots. There's an officer standing on the other side of the car. You see him back away with a look on his face like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? Right there. That quickly it happened. Now, you have a case here of a guy who died. He was carrying a firearm legally. He did everything he was required to do under the law. And yet you heard what happened. Where is the NRA on this? Why aren't they making a big deal out of it? One can only speculate, but what is your take on this? Number 663-1270, 663-1270. One could say that there's a racial element here. In fact, people have texted in and said, don't tell me it was all about black and white. Well, was it? Your comments welcome here. But if you're a member of the NRA and they don't weigh in on something like this, are they really acting in your best interest? Are they really defending everyone's right to keep and bear arms if they're not going to step in and condemn this action in the strongest possible terms? A day after the shooting, here is the statement from the National Rifle Association. The reports from Minnesota are troubling and must be thoroughly investigated. It goes on to promise the NRA will have more to say once all the facts are known. Well, the facts are in. The case is over. The policeman acquitted. And this man, Mr. Castile, he's dead. Where's the NRA? When are they going to step in, as they promised they would, and offer some kind of opinion on this? You would think they'd be all over the press right about now. You would think that Wayne LaPierre or whoever would be on TV on all the talking head shows, railing the authorities over the coals for allowing this kind of thing to happen, for a man to die in his car in the presence of his girlfriend and a child, simply for exercising his right openly and legally to bear a firearm. If you're a member of this organization, the question to you is, where are they? When and if are they going to speak out on this issue? They've really dropped the ball on this one. I was actually a member of the NRA at one time. I joined because, like many of you, like many folks, I was concerned about the issue of the right to bear arms. I joined, I was a member for a year, and when the membership was up, I let it lapse. All they ever did for me was keep hitting me up for money. Aside from that, they never did a damn thing for me. Never offered any information, useful information or resources. They tried to pitch their stupid magazine. And they would say, well, here's a case here where we need money, and they're always asking for money. Now, that got old really fast. So when it came to re-up, I didn't. And I ask to this day, where are they on issues like this? 663-1270. Jim Walsh at Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. More conversation, your calls coming up. Got a story about a lady who found a frog in her food at the restaurant, not the toasted frog. We'll talk about it here.
No, I don't look good naked anymore.
Well, that's what my wife tells me. I'll just have to take her word for it. Sorry, honey. Jim Walsh here at Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. There's a guy out there here in Bismarck who doesn't like the way this radio station handles news about the current president. I understand he's made several calls to the front office. He won't call me for some reason at 663-1270. Dude, if you're listening, go ahead, give me a call. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Seriously, call me up. Tell me the problem you have specifically with this radio station and the way it's handling news about Mr. Trump. 663-1270. Because if you don't call, I will just simply assume that you're a chicken bleep and you don't want to get involved with it. I'm just saying. Okay. By the way, there's a great story here about a guy who bought a billboard in Texas. This guy in Bourne, Texas, paid for a billboard telling ABC News that he is angry that they are covering. He's angry with the way they're covering a legitimate news story. Of course, he didn't phrase it in exactly those terms. A man named Kyle Courtney says he grew up watching ABC News, as did many of us, but is angry that the network keeps harping on all those allegations of Russian interference in last year's election. Well, Mr. Courtney decided to make his thoughts very public this week with a billboard in the city that says, ABC News, I grew up with you. We are through. The Russians didn't elect Donald Trump. I did. Well, actually, he didn't. The Electoral College did. Yeah, for the record, Mr. Trump won 30 states, and Hillary Clinton got the popular vote. We've been down that road before. Well, the sign is expected to stay up for about 2 months. And the man says the support he's getting is overwhelming. He says, I'm considering starting a GoMe Fund campaign to raise money to buy up vacant billboards for various Trump supporters, blah, 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 blah. Well, good for him. That's fine. That's fine. You want to do that, go ahead. But there's this one guy in town, and he's called up and railed about this. He has not spoken with me. He has not called he's not called the studio line of the station. But if you're out there right now, dude, I'm putting you, put it on the line. Put up or shut up. Call me right now. Line is open. I'll keep the line open for you. Let's make sure it's, there we go. Line's open for you. 663-1270. 663-1270. If you're there right now, you call me and you tell me specifically. Don't be calling the guy in the front office. And don't be calling the station manager. He's got enough problems. Seriously, it's not fair for him to have to deal with this. He's not the one who's supposed to deal with this. I am. If this is an issue with programming on this radio station, you call right now. You talk to me on the air about the problem you have. Put up or shut up. And if you're not going to do that, then I don't want to hear any more about it. 663-1270. I get tired of these people. They call up and, well, don't put me on the air, but I got to tell you. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work that way. If you got a problem, you tell me, but you tell me on the air where we can hash it out or discuss the issue. Don't give me any of this, well, I don't want to say this on the air, but no, it doesn't work that way. I hate that. That's ridiculous. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a station like this. Nonetheless, so the line's open, 663-12. No, don't leave a comment on the website. Although we love to get comments on the website, 663-1270. The website is supertalk1270.com. No, specifically, if you're this one guy, you call me right now. I'll wait. Hasn't called yet? I knew he wouldn't. Okay. While we're waiting for this brave fellow to call, talk about the story about the lady in the restaurant. Didn't happen here. who found a frog in her salad. Did you hear about this? Happened out in California. A lady went to a local restaurant, asked for a salad, brought out the salad. I'm looking for the story. What did I do with the story? Oh, there it is, right in front of my damn face. A lady of San Dimas, is that how you say it? San Dimas? Whatever. California. She found a frog in her salad while dining at a restaurant last Tuesday. She said she saw something funny looking in her salad. She said, I see something kind of rolled up. And this doesn't look right. So I passed it to my husband. Is that a piece of lettuce? And then he looked, and their daughter looked at it and said, it's a bleeping frog. I can't believe the kid said that, but the kid did. Out of the mouths of babes, right? The lady said she alerted the restaurant staff, which disposed of the frog. Good. A health inspector from the department inspected the restaurant almost a week after the incident, found no health code violations. At that time, the staff did not observe any contamination of the lettuce products. However, what's the weirdest thing you ever found in food in a restaurant? What's the weirdest thing you ever found? I mean, everybody has a story of going into a restaurant somewhere, going to the Pancake House, and you go to pour the syrup, and a roach comes out of the syrup. Oh, man. Ooh, yuck. That happened to me once. In my hometown, not here. So we don't have to besmirch any of the local restaurants. But this kind of thing does happen. Quality control is not perfect. But if you've had an experience like this, people love hearing these stories. Please call 663-1270. The woman said she believed it was an isolated incident. Well, one would hope so. But the fact that the restaurant staff didn't notice the frog before putting the salad on the plate kind of bothered. Oh, we have a call? Good morning, Super Talk 1270. Go ahead.
Hey, I was calling to straighten you out on that, why the NRA isn't supporting that fellow in Minnesota.
Okay, good. Let me back up. Okay, hang on. Let me back up on the story. The story was that Philando Castile, the guy in Minnesota, he was shot by a police officer. He was carrying a firearm. He alerted the policeman. The policeman shot him. The policeman was acquitted. And my question is, why isn't the NRA making a big stink about this? Okay, your turn, sir. Go ahead.
I think everybody in North Dakota knows the reason is because he wasn't white enough. If he would have been a white guy, the NRA would have been all over that story.
I'm afraid
and maybe
unfortunately, yeah.
In North Dakota for 56 years, and that's why you ain't getting any calls, because everybody here knows exactly why.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you.
Is just that way.
Yeah. I think you make a valid point, sir. Thank you for your call. Take care. Thank you. I think he's got a valid point there, because we were talking about this the other day, and somebody on Facebook said, stop making it all about black and white. Well, let's face it. If this were a white guy, would we be talking about it now? If this were a white guy, would he have been killed by a policeman with the cop have wigged out? We can only speculate, but, look at your history. It's a sad thing. Thank you very much for the input, sir. 663-1270. Jim Walsh at Super Talk 1270. More conversation. Your calls coming up.